Debit on top, credit on the bottom.
Would it be acceptable to use the account number instead of the account name?
In this particular format, in the general journal, we do not. We write out the account names. We do not use the account numbers. And either today or tomorrow, I'll show you where those account numbers come in handy. But no, we write out the account name. So like I said before, in this particular example, they wrote a check. Put the check number down here, so you could go and track it. We now have electronic software that tracks all of this. This is what QuickBooks does for you. But I also think it's important to understand exactly what QuickBooks is doing, so then you can know whether it's accurate. You can use all sorts of crazy stuff in QuickBooks and make it seem right, and then you pull up the financial statements and you're like, this is way messed up. Yep. And that would be your job to know that it is mixed up and not correct. Here's another example. Purchased office equipment. Again, what two accounts are affected? Do we debit them and credit them? And then make sure your formatting is correct. And make sure you have a description. I can't tell you how important those descriptions are, especially when you get into your homework and then you're trying to figure out, I'm messed up someplace. Those descriptions will help you. Here's one more example. Purchase supplies. Debited supplies, credited cash. I don't think I can say this enough. Do not butt this credit up against that line. If you do it on the test, they will dock you points. This one, they paid on their accounts payable account. They said who they paid, what the invoice number was, and the check number. So someone looking back later can go and pull that invoice and see exactly what was purchased, or pull this check and see exactly make sure it matches that amount. This one, prepaid rent. In our description, we indicated what months it was for rent paid. So we know it's prepaid because we paid it in advance. It's November, and we paid December and January's rent. Prepaid rent. Cash. We received cash. The date is above the date. The year. Any questions about journalizing?
With the income, or because we got, it says perform service for cash, isn't that kind of vague? Should there be something else attached to that?
There could be. You could put the customer name.
That's not necessary?
No, because in most places, fee income is going to be, here's the example I like to use. If that is the dollar store for income, are you going to want to record every single customer that comes to the dollar store?
Okay.
Probably not.
Right, okay.
This would be, where you have lots and lots and lots of customers, and you're not necessarily keeping track of every single customer. Now, if you're building a boat, you're probably going to want to keep track of which customer. So it depends on the business. It depends on the application of this particular business. I'm going to click through these pretty quick because it's just more examples of these same transactions.
You always have the debit first.
The debit is always on top. That's another one of those always rules. I'm sorry, what? Yep, good catch. And this one, this happens to be page 2 of the general journal. Yep, I would carry over your year if you're on page 2. Because if we want somebody to be able to open up that book to any page and be able to identify all the information, the year, what transactions, we don't want to have to sort through. Again, it used to be thousands of pages. Not so much anymore. This one, it was 2 checks. We indicated that on there. This one, they're draws. We wrote owner withdrew cash for personal use. That's draws. They took money out of the account. So now that we've talked about it, let's practice it. We are going to turn to page 109, and we're going to jump right into a problem. We're going to jump into problem 4.1a. It says, the transactions that followed took place at the Lancaster Sports Arena during September of 2013. This firm has indoor courts where customers can play tennis for a fee. It also rents equipment and offers tennis lessons, so this company has a lot going on. The instructions say record each transaction in the general journal using the following chart of accounts. So it tells us what accounts it wants us to use. Be sure to number the journal page 1 and write the year at the top of the date column. So it's giving us some hints. It wants us to include a description for each entry. So in this particular one, the page number was there. It's included. But it gave us a couple other things that it said we needed to do. What was one other thing it said we needed to do? The year. I heard somebody say the year. So we just put it right up here. Top of the column. And now we know that all the rest of the transactions below that year are going to be for that year. So our very first transaction is on September 1st. So we go just below the year and we put in September 1st. So then now we start down our list of transactions. September 1st, we issued check 1169 for $1,400 to pay the September rent. So first, what 2 accounts are affected?
Rent, expense, and cash.
Rent, expense, and cash. Which one do we debit? Rent expense. It goes on the top. We We said it was debited. Does it go in the debit or the credit column?
It's a debit column.
It goes in the debit column. So for every debit, we have a matching credit. And our credit, you already mentioned, was cash.
So do you ever put the account number anywhere?
We will, but not in this particular, not in the general journal.
Okay.
Is it the exact same amount as the debit above? In this particular instance, it is. The other thing the instructions said is include a description for every entry. So what would be our description on this?
Paid September rent and then the check number.
Excellent. So our next transaction happened on September 5th. Do you think we should leave a space there, or do you think we should put it right up against the next one?
I would leave a space.
Yeah, leave a space, it makes it easier to read. If they're all just rammed together, it's really hard to pick them apart. Or if you leave a gap, you'll think, oh, that's one journal entry, oh, there's another journal entry. Number 5, perform services for $2,500 in cash. 2 accounts are affected. Cash, fees income, somebody's got it. What's the date we're gonna use? So here, we already have September. We don't have to write September, 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 September. We know that these are September transactions because that's what's at the top of our paper. So we can just write the date. So somebody said we debit what? Cash.
Cash.
What's the amount? And our credit is to what? Fees income. What's our description? Perform services for cash.
No, if it didn't say leave a description, would you have to?
Yes, I recommend always leaving a description, even if it's short and only if, make sure you understand what that journal entry is. And on the test, I will ask for descriptions. And if those descriptions are missing, you'll be docked points. The further we move along, the more problems-based our test will be. The next transaction happened on September 6th. It says, perform services for $1,350 on credit. Does that affect cash?
No.
No. Accounts receivable.